This is Fujitsu Talks.
Welcome to Fujitsu Talks. My name is Mikko Heiskanen and I'm running marketing and business development in the product business unit. Today we are talking about data-driven business. And the kind of topic of today is data imperative. And the question is the algorithm replacing management? What is the role of management in a way in the future in the data-driven businesses? I have an interesting guest here, Henri Schildt from University Aalto. And actually, you are a professor. You can tell me which professor you are because I don't remember. But anyway, first I want to know what has brought to you to this data topic and data-driven business, because you have now published a book, The Data Imperative.
Yes.
So what has happened, Henri?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm professor of strategy, and
Good to know.
actually, my background, I started my studies a few years ago in programming or software engineering, and I switched over to business and did my PhD in strategy. But now in recent years, I've come back to software in a way because it's basically IT has moved from being a support function to being at the very core of business. And
Yes, that's correct. But from the late events, is there something, some happening or some product or whatever, which is really interesting and connected to this data-driven business, in your opinion? What is the kind of cool thing
well,
right now?
everything cool that's happening now is digital. But if I look at news, just last week we heard that a startup called Wolt, that is a food delivery company, got a financing round of 400 million euros.
That's a crazy amount of money.
Yes, and the founding team is from Aalto University, so it's also close to home. And I watched the video now of them pitching their company a few years ago, and the ambition level is completely different. And it shows how when you have a digital platform, you have customers, you have data assets, you can really grow a massive business.
Sky
out of
is
that.
open for you.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the data imperative.
Yes.
What is it? Tell me.
What is data imperative?
Yes.
Well, it's the name of my book, and it's the main framework of the book.
Okay.
So it's premised on this idea that a lot that we talk about digitalization is about technology and capabilities and these infrastructures. But for me, how I saw it is that to understand how companies change, it's really the management mindset. It's the way the companies conceive their business and their operations and how to create value.
Okay.
And the data imperative framework consists of two basically halves that are complementary. The first is this ideal of pursuing digital omniscience, the ability to replace human observations and human understanding with digital
Or
data
digitalized
flows.
human observation, or is it completely digital?
Well, I mean, yes. In a way, I would say that they have always been complementary.
Yeah.
You have humans who observe things and decide things, and you have the IT systems that record data and process it with algorithms.
Mhm.
But it used to be that most business processes were run by humans.
Yes.
And now what the data imperative as a kind of a management framework is saying that most managers now conceive the need to capture their business processes, their customers in data, and to control them with algorithms. Media companies increasingly use just data to decide what kind of news to print, what kind of content to
yeah,
produce.
personalized to me.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a couple of, is it right to call them terms or concepts inside the data imperative when you talking about this collecting and gathering the data and then using it?
Yeah.
So what is the kind of framework?
Yeah.
Basically.
So I just got into the first part, which is the digital omniscience, but then
Yes.
it's complemented with digital omnipotence, the pursuit of the ability to control everything with data. So rethinking business processes in a way that they are driven by data and you are able to control them by data. So, for example, pricing now, if you think of grocery stores, it used to be that humans would still decide the prices based on the analysis done.
Yes.
But now in the era of digitalization with digital omnipotence, you can have algorithms that determine and even experiment with different pricing. And you have these digital price tags where you can in real time change overnight how different products are priced in different stores. And therefore you can optimize all the time the revenues.
So if I try to kind of summarize what you have said here is that first we collect, and this is something that is we are able to do today. But today we are also able to analyze and run the processes that follow automatically.
Yes.
And this is the data imperative. Is that
is
did
it,
I understand
basically.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think and also interesting question is why is this happening right now with such incredible speed? And talking about speed, we have also been looking into this quantum computing at Fujitsu. I can't say that we have developed a quantum computer, but we have created something that emulates quantum computer. We call it digital annealer. And why I'm taking this up is that with this technology, we can get up to 15,000 times the performance of a normal Intel-based computing. And I think when you are actually running data imperative type of data-driven business, isn't this something that also is very relevant?
Yes, for sure. My perspective has been that the biggest barrier is the management mindset and thinking and the conceptions, but it's true that these also matter a lot, and it varies by industry. So in some industries, it's because now we have the digital data. Actually, the first business computers were taken into use 72 years ago. So we had business IT for 72 years. But I think now everybody is talking about digital transformation, and there is a step change. For some industries, it's the data. And for some industries, the data has been there for 10, 15 years. And it's the computing power now that is really skyrocketing, and the cost is going down.
And capability is going up in a way also. Yes.
There's more human skills in terms of data analytics, machine learning.
Yes.
We have more graduates. And also you can control the business now with digital data. You have the Internet of Things in industry. And of course, in consumer, you have now smartphone apps. You can actually change the consumer experience in real time based on your software.
There is a very kind of central concept also in your book called modularity, and you know, I know modularity, what it means in a product, because we are also producing pieces, and that's a good example of very modular product where all the different components are coming from different vendors, but they are highly standardized. But what does this modularity mean in a digital business, and how is it actually changing the companies that how they run today?
Okay, these are interesting and interconnected questions. So I have a whole chapter on modularity, and I think it's by far the most important kind of technical phenomenon for managers to understand. We've had modular products for a long time, but now as processes are moving towards greater digitalization, what you can do is that you can represent all the interconnections between different steps in data flows, and you can decouple different activities and tasks and have them executed in a modular way, sometimes even provided by a different company. So if you might have heard of the company DocuSign, or you most likely have.
Yes, and it's an amazing story also. Can you maybe you tell a little bit about
it?
I
mean, DocuSign it's basically provides one component of electronic signature.
Yes.
And it's now worth $43 billion.
So more than the big paper companies in Finland.
Yes, exactly. More than any company in Finland, actually, I think. Almost.
And they are just doing this one modular component, but it's crucial for the transactions.
Yes. It's one component, but it's a component that goes to 10,000 or 100,000 different business processes.
What's the trick that it's DocuSign that can provide that? Why are they the one?
Well, I mean, with digital modularization, right, you can immediately replace one producer with another. So the quality matters. And
Yeah.
apparently this kind of security, being able to authenticate the person, avoiding fraud, is complicated problem. And if somebody solves it in a reliable way and you trust them to do it, you don't want to try do it yourself, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Why not buy it from them?
Okay. Good.
This is Fujitsu Talks.
Yeah, I got the idea of this modularity actually pretty well now. But if we take this now kind of back to the ground in a way, so let's use some example. Let's say the Finnish elevator company Kone. How do they operate in this modular world, or do they actually?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Modularity, you can see it both inside the companies and in the industry level. And if you take now the industry level, of course the elevator has always been a module in a building. I mean, it's a
Yes.
modular part of the building.
And also a modular product maybe.
And a modular product.
Yeah.
But now with digitalization, because we can create these digital interfaces that interact with data, it's actually possible to connect to a system even as a separate module provided by a separate company. So increasingly the value of an elevator is about what's the function that it plays in a smart building.
Yeah.
It can be part of the access control, it can be part of the security, it can even monitor for health emergencies. So apparently from like thermal and video camera, you can detect if people are sick, if they have a seizure or anything like that.
So kind of your imagination is the limit only in a
Yes.
way. And in access control, it's today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a way, this product is not only an elevator, it's a living part of this organism
Yes.
called smart building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what the economists already noted in the end of the 80s, that as these products become more interconnected, you're not competing in a product market only with your price and your features, but we move towards systems competition, where systems of different interconnected components are competing against the other system. And then there are two things. Is your system the leading one? And how do you capture the value and profits that your component is bringing to this smart building system?
Okay. Now, if we talk about work and management, that was kind of the beginning, also dilemma of our Fujitsu talk. What is expected now from a European company management? I think they are still needed, but maybe the role is changing, or maybe they need new capabilities. What is also happening to work when you have processes that are run by the algorithms and the work is standardized? What is the future of me in a way? Am I
Yes.
am I getting in a very boring job run by the computer, or what is going to happen?
Yeah. I'm a professor in the Department of Management and Organizing, and I really, lots of the book looks at how does this change the management, how does it change organization and work. And clearly what we see from the data imperative framework is that you want to control processes with data, which means that lots of these questions that used to be tactical or strategic, made by managers who are paid to make the decisions, actually are made much
Keep
better.
the processes running in a way.
Yeah. That work is going. We see less and less of managers routinely making the same judgments.
In a way, middle management.
Yeah, exactly. Or this kind of expert manager.
Yeah.
Instead, what management is about is now designing and innovating better processes. Constant improvement of how these modular parts of your business are designed, and this recombinant innovation where you pull different modular processes and combine them to create new kinds of value. And as we move from this routine execution to more constant creativity, innovation, experimentation, organizational structures need to change, culture need to change, and the control systems need to change. So one big change is that most companies last century and still today were designed for increasing predictability and
And-
providing this visibility to the future.
efficiency also maybe.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's part of the same thing,
Yeah,
right? That you predict and control how things will run efficiently
With KPIs.
with KPIs.
Yes.
And if algorithms are doing the running of business,
Mhm.
right? You don't set KPIs for algorithms.
No.
And if you want the management to innovate, if you want them to try to figure out how can we do this twice as well as we do today, or with half the people,
Mhm.
it's not predictable. Like sometimes it will fail. And setting these very strong KPIs and trying to control and predict what these people do is no longer the winning formula, I would say.
But what capabilities do we need then from today's leadership? And is it structured the way, well, you said that it's not the hierarchical, structure anymore. It's something else. Maybe you can give some examples, maybe from the real life where this has happened.
Yeah.
Maybe if you take also an industry like financials or something that we all are familiar with,
Yeah.
and then after that we can discuss what is needed from the leadership.
Okay.
Today.
So let's tackle first the example. So what I see a lot is that the successful companies that use data, they have CEOs who are very involved in the operations, in the business, how it runs. Because so many of key decisions is how do you structure the tasks, the teams, the architecture. And in Finland, we have two big Nordic banks, basically. And OP, the first example, they have tried to go all the way to be an innovative, team-driven, like empower people. It's like ING in the Netherlands was the leading company in financial sector doing this. And they try to really empower people to improve the ways they do business
in these modules,
in these modular teams, basically what they call squads. But and the other bank, a pan Nordic bank, Nordea, they've gone with this hybrid approach where they run the country organizations, to my understanding, very much still as old-fashioned, not
with
old-fashioned,
KPIs
with KPIs.
And kind of hierarchical.
With hierarchy makes actually a lot of sense.
Yes.
It's very. I mean, I cannot say how good hierarchical bureaucracies are, because it's not a coincidence that all the successful companies used to run them. And they have adopted this team-based structure in the headquarters, where they developed the new services, new digital infrastructure,
it
and so
fits
forth.
to some places, and then maybe still for some processes it's better to go the old way in a way, or
yes,
or more traditional way of
yes.
leading.
You don't get the professor to say that there's one best solution, but it seems that the hybrid approach has its advantages, but of course then they can be real cultural clashes when you have one organization that is very structured and metrics oriented, and the other one that is very unstructured and innovation oriented.
Maybe we can end here sending a message to the leaders in the European countries. How do you see, what is now the most important thing that we need to do to be able to keep up with the US companies that you have also mentioned many times in your book? So what is now needed from the management most urgently, so that we stay competitive in this global market today?
Oh gosh, prioritizing things. So I'll just pick up two things, because we just discussed organization. I'm going to skip that. But first thing is to have a clear data strategy. So what are the customer needs, or your own business processes, or your partnerships or external networks that you should capture with data and optimize and control with algorithms? So like, what are the sources where you can create value with data? And start investing in data assets, data infrastructure more and more now, because that's the basic of everything. That's where that enables the innovation. And the second thing is really start learning and developing capabilities to understand and lead your ecosystem. Whether you are building the ecosystem and platforms yourself, or you want to play a part in them.
Yep.
to kind of, and some people talk about the inversion of the firm, that instead of leading your own people, you now lead your partners in a way, and try to
Work in the
mm,
ecosystem.
yes,
actually.
the ecosystem.
Yeah. So this is so you don't only need a business strategy, you need a data strategy, and maybe they are actually the same thing combined. And actually, Fujitsu can help you, of course, in many places with technology and consulting in that. But I want to thank you, Henri. I think it's super interesting, and I'm gonna give you the last word because you have a book maybe that you want to advertise. So if you can, tell people where they can find it, and with that, I
Yeah.
really wish you data fruitful weeks to come, and you can now do a
Great.
little advertisement.
So if you listened or watched all the way this far, you can check out the Data Imperative. You can just Google it. It's published by the Oxford University Press and should be available on all the e-book stores.
Thank you so much.
Subscribe our YouTube channel.